All right, let's jump right in. When you think of strength, what's the first image that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's that intimidating figure, right? The loud boss, the ruthless competitor, the person who just never, ever backs down. It's an image that's everywhere, and honestly, it's often propped up as the ideal. But here's the thing. What if that whole picture is just wrong? What if the very things we tend to associate with power, that intimidation, that aggression, that cruelty, are actually signs of the exact opposite? That's the huge question we're going to unpack together in this explainer. And this idea right here, this is the core of it all. It completely flips our usual understanding on its head. The argument is that cruelty isn't some display of skill or power. No, it's a compensation. It's basically the mask that weakness wears. So let's break down what that really truly means. Okay, so first things first, we have to understand why intimidation feels so powerful, even if it's actually coming from a place of weakness. It's all about creating an illusion. I mean, look at how this frames cruelty. It's not an act of power, it's a shortcut. Think about that. It's the path you take when you feel like you can't earn respect through your own skill or character. So instead, you just take what you want, obedience, using the cheapest, easiest tool there is, fear. And this just perfectly captures the psychology behind it. If someone feels small on the inside, insecure, maybe even irrelevant, they develop this desperate need to control everything on the outside. The cruelty you see is pretty much directly proportional to the insecurity you don't. It's just a frantic attempt to fill that internal emptiness with external control. So let's stick with that idea for a second, because this concept of cruelty as a shortcut is absolutely crucial. You could almost call it the emotional path of least resistance. Just think about it. Developing genuine strength, like learning a new skill, building real relationships, mastering your own temper, that stuff takes time. It takes discipline. It means you have to be able to delay gratification. Cruelty, though, that gives you an instant, visceral hit of feeling powerful. It's a rush, and it requires absolutely zero personal growth to get it. And this analogy is just perfect. It's so powerful. When a little kid gets frustrated because they can't figure something out, what's the immature response? To lash out, to break something. And that's exactly what cruelty is. It's not a solution to a problem. It's an admission that you failed to solve it. It's a destructive tantrum, just dressed up to look like a power move. Okay, so if cruelty is just weakness in a clever disguise, why do so many of us fall for it? Why do we so often mistake the bully for the leader? Well, it turns out there are a few key psychological traps that we all fall into. Let's walk through them. We're going to break down these 4 traps one by one. How visible fear is, our collective obsession with short-term results, a bit of cultural conditioning, and finally, a psychological trick called projection. First up is the noise factor. Acts of cruelty are loud, right? They're dramatic. You can't ignore them. And because of that, they look decisive. But true strength, which often means showing restraint or patience or even mercy, well, that's quiet. It's almost invisible. So we make this huge mistake. We see all the noise and think it's power, and we see the silence and think it's weakness. Second, we are just obsessed with immediate results. And let's be totally honest, cruelty often works, at least in the short term. That intimidating boss, yeah, they get their team to fall in line. The harsh approach gets things done. For now. But we totally ignore the fact that the obedience they get is built on this super fragile foundation of fear, and it's just waiting to collapse the second that threat is gone. The third reason is kind of a cultural hangover. In a lot of environments, we still have this leftover instinct to reward the most ruthless person in the room, calling them the alpha. We're making a classic category error. We're confusing dominance, which is just the ability to scare people, with real leadership, which is the ability to actually protect your people, to create something, to build something that lasts. And this quote just lands the point so perfectly. Dominance that has to destroy its own team just to stay on top isn't strength. It's a catastrophic failure of the most basic job of a leader. It's not a better lion. It's just a worse lion. And finally, there's this weird psychological quirk, projection. Sometimes people watch a cruel person act on their worst impulses and secretly they admire it. They think, man, I wish I had the nerve to do that.
They start calling that recklessness honesty because, well, that's way easier than admitting that their own restraint is actually a conscious choice. It's a form of courage, not cowardice.
Okay, so we've spent all this time tearing down the illusion. Now let's build up the real thing. What does authentic, genuine strength actually look like? This right here is the definition at the heart of it all. True strength is quiet confidence. It's having the power to be cruel, but actively choosing, to be kind instead. It's being secure enough to lose an argument without turning vicious. It means having an ego that's strong enough to actually handle disagreement without needing to punish it. This slide is basically the ultimate field guide for telling them apart. Just look at the source. Intimidation springs from insecurity and fear, while true strength comes from quiet confidence. Look at the method. One uses fear to extract obedience. The other earns respect through skill. And the goal? One is obsessed with controlling others, while the other is focused on their own internal growth. And maybe most telling, look at their response to a challenge. One punishes disagreement, the other tolerates it. At the end of the day, it all really boils down to this one simple, devastating lie. The entire performance of cruelty is built on this desperate, clawing need for relevance. It's a way for someone who is terrified of their own irrelevance to just scream into the void, hoping that the echo of fear that comes back proves that they exist and that they matter. So that leaves us with one final, very personal question. In your own life, in your interactions, even in the people you admire, which one are you building? Are you building the fragile illusion of control that comes from intimidation? Or are you building the quiet, steady, unshakable foundation of real strength?